Um, okay, Mia, heads or tails?
I'll go with heads.
Okay, you lost the coin flip. It's tails. Dhruv, did I say your name correctly? Okay, perfect. Do you want to go pro or con?
I'd like to go with the pro.
Go with the pro? Okay. And then,
Now, of course, they do have the option to go first or second. They can either choose the side or the speaking order. Just want to make sure that that was clear.
okay, yeah. Who wants to go first or second? Or
Well, so Dhruv, you're cool. You want to stick with pro, right?
Yes.
All right, then I'll go second. Does that work for you guys? All right, perfect.
okay. Pro side, are you ready for your 4-minute constructive?
Yep.
Whenever you're ready.
Judges ready? Opponents ready? Starting my time now. Hello, my name is Dhruv Paul, and I'm speaking on the pro side of the resolution. The Electoral College should be replaced by a national popular vote. After extensive research on this topic, my team and I have decided that the winner of this debate should be decided using the cost-benefit analysis method, meaning that the team that provides a greater balance of benefits versus costs should be awarded the win. My first contention is preservation of democracy. Step 1A, democracy. At the most fundamental level, the people make up any government. This means that power should stem from the people, and anything other than this will be against democracy. Democracy guarantees that people's voices are heard and their rights are protected. Government is made so that it can serve the people. But when a system like the Electoral College drops votes and goes against what the people say, that is a flawed system. Subpoint B, unequal representation. A major flaw within the Electoral College is the unequal representation within the system. If we look at the ratio of voters to population, we find that Vermont has 1 voter for every 208,000 people, while Texas has a ratio of 1 voter for every 760,000 people. We are all equals as humans, so we must all be given an equal voice in government. Why should some people's voices have more weight than others? That is unequal and against democracy. In an unrestricted democracy, 1 vote must equal 1 person. When this changes, corruption and oppression are present. In order to defend democracy and the spirit of the Constitution, the Electoral College must be abolished. It restricts the right of equality that every person is endowed, whereas in the direct national vote, everyone's voice will be equal. Subpoint C, the Constitution. If we turn our attention to the Constitution, we know that the United States revolves around power to the people. The college is turned into an institution that is against the spirit of the Constitution. The college's outcomes may not even align with what the majority of the people want. This is a clear obstruction of democracy. As you can see, the pros method has far more benefits, such as giving a voice to people as compared to the cons' many costs. Subpoint D, dropped votes. Another one of the Electoral College's innumerable flaws is dropped votes. The winner-takes-all method makes it so that each candidate wins the support of an entire state with only partial support. This means that people's different opinions within the states are already suppressed and aren't heard at a national level where they could be supported. My second contention is corruptible. The Electoral College is a weak method of voting that is susceptible to corruption. The college has 4 times higher probability that a small interference will change the course of the election than a direct vote. The chance of a successful interference from 0.1% random corrupted votes is 11% in the college versus the 2% of the direct vote. Faithless electors are electors that vote on their own free will rather than what the people want. This is a serious threat to democracy that the con supports. My third contention is representation. Subpoint A, voter neglect. The college creates a key flaw in the elections, presidential campaigning. Due to the winner-takes-all method, some states are guaranteed to give all their electoral votes to a certain candidate. Opposing parties will make no effort to campaign in these safe states. However, if the state is a swing state, campaign after campaign will be made in an effort to win the state over. In the 2016 elections, 11 states accounted for 96% of the campaign events. The 34 small and medium states got no attention, and the larger states only got 1 apiece. Subpoint B, voter inclusion. The pros method allows candidates to not be confined by states, deemed safe by plurality, and allows them to campaign wherever they please, with no boundaries to restrict them. This allows candidates to activate voters who may be suppressed by a plurality in their state. The pros method allows people to have a real impact on their vote for their president, where they may not otherwise be heard under the college. The pros method has far more benefits, such as giving proportional representation to all people, unlike the con's flawed method, which favors bipartisan states whilst having higher rates of corruption. As you can clearly see, the con method has and will keep restricting democracy. Not only is the Electoral College susceptible to corruption, but also it distributes power among states in an irresponsible manner, to where millions of people's voices are dropped. A direct national vote is guaranteed to have equal representation of every voter and for everyone's voice to be heard. The pro simply has the better case, and more benefits as compared to the flaw-ridden plan of the con. Thus, we urge you to cast a pro ballot. Thank you.
All right, then I'll go ahead and start mine. Judge ready? Opponents ready? All right, I'll begin my time. Hi, I'm Mia Johnson, and I'll be arguing on the con side of the resolution. The Electoral College should be replaced by a national popular vote. I believe this debate should be judged upon a two-world point of view, meaning that the debate that outcomes in a better world, in this case one with or without the Electoral College, should win the debate. Contention 1, purpose, subpoint A. The Founding Fathers put the Electoral College into place to avoid the negative effects of uninformed voting. By allowing educated representatives to have the final say in a vote, you avoid an unfit president being elected by an uneducated or misinformed public. Subpoint B. Several Founding Fathers believed a popular vote could result in, quote, the tyranny of majority, a result of factions or interest groups gaining too much power. The Electoral College serves as both a form of representative democracy and checks and balances, two things this nation is founded on. Contention 2, inclusivity. Subpoint A. Without the Electoral College, candidates may limit their campaigns. The Electoral College serves to make sure that all states are represented, holding candidates accountable for all 50 states, not just the highly populated or large ones. Subpoint B. To give an example, Nevada has only the 32nd highest population in the US, and yet it's been critical to many elections. If a popular vote was instituted, states like Nevada could be entirely ignored, resulting in an unfair representation within the White House. The Electoral College makes sure that all states are represented and heard. Contention 3, support. Subpoint A. The Electoral College is an institution that is 233 years old, making it something extremely traditional. Instituting a national popular vote would mean going against what is written in the Constitution and intended by the Founding Fathers, which goes into subpoint B. The Electoral College has the support of many Founding Fathers. James Madison called it, quote, a government in which a scheme of representation takes place, opens a different prospect, and promises the cure for which we are seeking. In the Federalist Papers, more specifically Federalist Paper number 68, Alexander Hamilton wrote that the Electoral College is designed to ensure, quote, that the office of the president will never fall to the lot of any man who is not in an eminent degree endowed with the requisite qualifications. Subpoint C. In a 2020 poll, 51% of Americans said they were in favor of abolishing the Electoral College, with a margin error of 1.6 percentage points. While this could technically be seen as the majority, that would mean ignoring at least 49% of the country that supports the Electoral College. The abolition of the Electoral College would mean going against the democratic wishes of both the people of the US, the Founding Fathers, and the United States Constitution. For these reasons, I believe that the con side clearly will result in a better world than the pro side, which is why you should cast your vote for the con side. Thank you. I would like to end my time.
Okay.
Okay, time. So we have 2 minutes of cross-ex. The pro questioning the negative.
Judges ready?
Yes.
Opponents ready? I'll be starting my timer now. Could you please elaborate on your third contention, subpoint C or subpoint 3?
Yes, my subpoint C is that in a 2020 poll, 51% of Americans said they were in favor of abolition of the Electoral College, which is technically a majority, but only by a small amount. And disregarding that would be disregarding almost half of the country that supports the Electoral College.
Okay, thank you. So now I'll go on to more questions. Explain why it's fair that a president can be elected even though most people didn't vote for them.
it's not necessarily that most people didn't vote for them. It's that they may not win the popular vote. And that can be a very, very small margin, as we've seen in some of the elections where the president has been elected but has not won the popular vote.
But this is against democracy. Democracy is based on what the people want. However, the majority of the people don't want, did not vote for that president. However, they still got it. So how is that fair?
That's not necessarily what democracy is. While that is the definition of direct democracy, the US is not a direct democracy. We are a representative democracy.
All right, now I'll go into the second question. The electoral votes drops the votes of the people, thus going against democracy and going against the spirit of the Constitution and the ideal democratic country that our founding fathers intended. How do you respond to this?
It's not really the Electoral College that does that. It's individual states. For example, Nebraska and Maine split their electoral votes. They do not use the winner takes all system, which I'd argue is more of a flaw within the states than the Electoral College itself, since it gives states the option.
All right, and now I'll go into my third question. How do you respond to the fact that if one lives in a safe state and disagrees with their political plurality, they will be ignored and neglected?
While it can be that they are ignored or neglected, this same thing could easily happen to small states within the national popular vote.
That's time. Cross-ex.
Yeah. All right. Judge ready?
Mhm.
Opponents ready? All right. I would like to start my time. So I'm going to first start off with a very simple question, which is, do you think democracy is important to the US?
Definitely. The Constitution is built upon democracy.
All right. And then would you agree with this dictionary definition of democracy, which is a system of government by the whole population or all the eligible members of a state, typically through elected representatives?
No, because that's a very specific type of democracy, direct democracy and representative democracy. There's two types. The total definition of democracy does not just include that. It could be just the total vote of everyone.
Okay, but do you agree that the United States is meant to be a representative democracy, not a direct democracy?
Just because it's meant to be I do agree that it's meant to be a representative democracy, but just because it's meant to be a representative democracy doesn't mean that's the right choice.
Okay. And then my last question was just about the winner takes all system. I just wanted to make sure, were you aware that that's a state by state decision and not something that is controlled by the Electoral College?
I'm aware of that, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to end my time.
Okay, 2-minute prep time. Okay, time. Is the pro ready for their 4-minute rebuttal?
I'm just setting up my timer. All right. Are the judges ready?
Yeah.
Are my friends ready? Okay, I'll be starting my timer now. First, I would like to address the framework. The cost-benefit analysis method is a superior weighing method compared to the two worlds analysis method because of its real-world use case. In the real world, there is no black and white. Everything is gray, meaning that there's no answer that 100% works. As a result, people in the real world choose their course of actions by weighing the costs and benefits of it. Everything in the world is decided via cost to benefits. As a result, in order to keep this debate as realistic as possible, it would be the best interest to use this framework. Now, I would like to go into line by line rebuttal. So my opponent's first contention was purpose. Now going to supplement A, they claim that founding fathers placed the Electoral College as a way to stop uneducated votes. However, the electors have to do what the people say. So in reality, it doesn't actually matter if the people are uneducated or not. The electors have to do what the people want, and if they don't, that's a faithless elector, which is against the spirit of the Constitution and against voting. Now, Subpoint B could result in a majority rule. The same is true for the Electoral College. The college provides no defense against majority rule. However, the pros method allows for candidates to not be confined in states in campaigns. For instance, California, which is a safe state, but could have regions, rural regions that don't agree with it. Candidates can go and campaign in these regions because they're not confined to state boundaries, unlike the Electoral College. Now, going into subpoint or contention 2, inclusivity. Subpoint A, candidates may limit their campaigns to large states. This is not the case because candidates will not spend their time, energy, and effort in an area where they're guaranteed to win or guaranteed to lose. They'll spend their time in an area where they can swing the vote, which doesn't necessarily mean an urban population. If it's a rural population, they'll spend their campaign effort there, which is very similar to Electoral College. So this is a non-unique argument. Now going into their second subpoint, they claim that Nevada is critical, in states such as Nevada is critical to the Electoral College election, but will be ignored under the national popular vote. Now, they still have a say under the national popular vote, and in fact, this proves our point, because this proves that Electoral College is giving mismatched representation, and this supports our case. Under the national popular vote, everybody gets a voice, whereas in the Electoral College, certain states are favored and others are ignored, and this is against democracy. Support. The Electoral College is 200 years old, implemented into the Constitution, and the national popular vote, meaning going against the Founding Fathers' will. But this doesn't mean that the Constitution or the Founding Fathers were correct. There have been instances where the Constitution was wrong, and there have been amendments, and this could very much be another change made to the Constitution. Now, the Electoral College had the support from many Founding Fathers. Again, the Founding Fathers were human. There are very much methods to prevent mob rule in national popular vote. Now going into the third contention, saying that 51% of Americans would support a national popular vote, dropping 49%. But in reality, we should go with the voting method that provides the most benefit and will help the citizens, not necessarily by what they think. If it works, it'll be better. Now, I would finally like to go over my own case. Contention 1, preservation and democracy. Subpoint A, democracy. Subpoint B, unequal representation. Subpoint C, the Constitution. And subpoint D, drop voices. Contention 2, corruptible. Contention 3, representation. Subpoint A, voter neglect. And subpoint B, voter inclusion. Now, as you can clearly see, under the CBA, the pro clearly brings more benefits to the table than the costs and flaw-ridden plans. Thank you.
All right. I will go ahead and start mine. Judge ready? Opponents ready? All right, I would like to start my time. I'll start by just addressing framework, and then I'll move on to a line-by-line dissection and rebuttal of my opponent's case. For framework, they chose the cost-benefit analysis framework. I think that this is also a wonderful framework that you can look at it from, as well as a two worlds framework. And I think that with both, the con side shows many more benefits overall and should be the clear winner in either framework. Now on to their line-by-line rebuttal. Their first contention was preservation of democracy, subpoint A, talking about the definition of democracy. However, it is important to remember that the US is not a direct democracy because of our large population and how easy it is to get misinformation or corruption through a direct democracy. We are not one. The subpoint B was unequal representation and saying that some states are more represented than others. However, with the national popular vote, those large states would be far too represented in comparison to smaller states. For example, Rhode Island, that while they have a small population, they are still a state and they are still under the power of the executive branch. So shouldn't they also have an equal say? Subpoint C was the Constitution, discussing power to the people. However, the Constitution clearly talks about the Electoral College and why it believes it's the superior system. If you're going to argue about the Constitution, it should be important to remember that the Constitution is what sets up the Electoral College. And their subpoint D was dropped votes. And while this can be true in many states, the winner-takes-all system is not an Electoral College system, nor is it applicable in all states. Nebraska and Maine have both gotten rid of this system and instead choose to distribute their electoral college votes differently based off of how the population votes. Their second contention was corruptible. And while everything, of course, is corruptible, it's also very clear that a national popular vote is easily corruptible by misinformation or simple uneducation. When voters are voting not because they truly believe in a candidate, but based off of either false information or no information at all, you could very easily get a president into office that is not prepared to rule a country. And their third contention was representation, subpoint A, neglect of states. And I think that while some states can sometimes be neglected, it's important to remember that with a national popular vote, this would also happen with small states. As previously stated, Rhode Island has a very small population, and it would be pretty easy for campaign planning to neglect and look over. And their subpoint B was inclusion, that it's not confined by state. However, a very important part of America is federalism and states' rights to choice. That confinement by states is not meant to drown out minority voters, but is instead meant to make sure that all states are represented well in the executive branch. So because of these flaws in their argument, I think it's clear that the con side would clearly result in a better world if you're looking at a two worlds benefit or a cost benefit analysis framework. I would like to end my time. Thank you.
Okay, 2 minutes prep. Okay, that's time. Is the pro ready for their 3-minute summary?
Yes, nine. Okay. Judges ready? Opponents ready? Okay, starting my time now. At the beginning of the debate, we discussed that this debate should be decided with the cost-benefit analysis method in mind. In this final speech, I'll highlight exactly how the pros provided a superior number of benefits and less cost for the resolution. The Electoral College should be replaced by a national popular vote. Before we get to some impacts on voters, here's a quick recap of our contentions. Contention 1, preservation of democracy. Subpoint A, democracy. Subpoint B, unequal representation. Subpoint C, the Constitution. Subpoint D, dropped voices. Contention 2, corruptible. Contention 3, representation. Subpoint A, voter neglect. Subpoint B, voter inclusion. Now on to some impacts. Magnitude. The Electoral College drops much more votes than a direct national vote. Nearly half of all votes per state can be deemed irrelevant due to the winner-takes-all electoral method, which most states implement. This means that if a state is split 51-49%, the will of the 59% will be heard, and the opinions of the 49% will be dropped. To add on, not all votes are equal. A person's vote is as important as where they reside. Adding all of this up means that a candidate only has to win 90 million votes, 51% of the votes of the larger states, to win the election. This is incompetence by the Electoral College, which will decide the fate of our entire country. The cons method will also drop the voices of millions and misrepresent others. Why should some people's voices hold more weight just because of where they live? To add on, the Electoral College can change the voice of people and give them a president that they did not vote for. This is against democracy. One person needs to equal one vote. It is a quintessential aspect of democracy in not only the United States, but also in the free world. The con restricts all of this, while the pro will preserve democracy. Voter 1. My opponent states that the United States is representative democracy. This is true in most cases. However, in the case of the presidential election, every person should have an equal vote in the race for who they believe should lead them. It is the right of every person to have a say in the body that governs them, and everyone's voice should be equal. Voter 2. Small states do have representation in bodies such as the Senate. Everyone has equal representation there. However, the Electoral College gives people more voice than others. This is an obvious obstruction of democracy. Voter 3. My opponent states that the national popular vote would neglect small states, though this is not true. The pros method allows candidates to not be confined by small states, deemed safe by plurality, and allows them to campaign wherever they please with no boundaries restricting them. This allows candidates to go and activate voters who may be suppressed by plurality in their state. States like Rhode Island wouldn't get elected. In fact, they would get even more representation. The con's own strongest impacts support the pro. Voter 4. My opponent is using the straw man fallacy, which is where an opponent argument is changed and then opposed instead of the true one. We never stated that the Electoral College was unconstitutional, but merely that it was against the spirit of the Constitution. Voter 5. My opponent's strongest impact is that the Electoral College prevents misinformation. This is not true. The college also does not have any guards against this. Thus, it's a non-unique argument. Voter 6. Despite the fact that that states can choose the way they distribute electors, most states choose the winner-takes-all method. Nebraska and Maine are cherry-picked examples. Most states will choose winner-takes-all and still continue to do so.
That's time.
All right, then I'll go ahead and start mine. Judge ready?
Mhm.
Opponents ready? All right, I would like to begin my time. So I'm going to summarize this and talk about my contentions and as well as how they would weighing the impacts to see how they would result in a better world. My first contention was purpose. Subpoint A, that the founding fathers put the Electoral College into place to avoid uneducated or misinformed voting. Subpoint B, that several founding fathers believed a popular vote would result in tyranny. You can clearly weigh these impacts, seeing that the purpose of the Electoral College would be to avoid any form of tyranny within voting, any sort of misinformed voting, or even just uneducated voting, as compared to the pro side, which could result in factions or interest groups gaining way too much power, something that goes against checks and balances. My second contention was inclusivity. Subpoint A, that without the Electoral College, candidates may limit their campaigns to larger populated states. Subpoint B was giving an example about Nevada, talking about how those smaller states with smaller populations could be entirely ignored and not represented within the White House based off of the president that is chosen when you go with a national popular vote. Contention 3 was support. Subpoint A was that the Electoral College is a very old institution and it has tradition and history backing it up. Subpoint B was that the Electoral College also has the support of many founding fathers, including James Madison and Alexander Hamilton. And subpoint C was that in a 2020 poll, only 51% of Americans said that they were in favor of abolishing the Electoral College, and abolishing it would be ignoring almost half of those Americans. With this contention, if you weigh the impacts, you can see that the Electoral College has far more historical support behind it, as well as lots of current support behind it. And ignoring this could be very, very dangerous. Ignoring something that has worked very well for 233 years, as opposed to other things which have been amended in the Constitution very early on, we could ruin our nation's long streak. And that it's not what the founding fathers intended. The founding fathers wrote the Constitution with the future in mind, for it to be adaptable, for it to work for future generations, and to assume that we should change it simply because the current way is not working is just untrue. And I have 30 seconds left, and so I'd like to finish by saying you guys have done a wonderful job, and it was great debating with you, and thank you for taking time out of your day to judge this. All right, I'll like to stop my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Great debate, you guys. Congratulations. I decided to vote for the pro side of the resolution. And that was because on the cost benefit framework, which Mia, you conceded and you said you could win on either frameworks. So I went with the cost benefit framework. The summary just had more advantages. And Mia, in order for you to kind of, I felt like you needed to weigh your impacts a bit more against their advantages, or I guess their disadvantages that they said. So like your big point was, your two main points is that small states are ignored, like Nevada, and that purpose of Electoral College is to avoid the tyranny of the majority and factions. If you could just impact that out a little bit more and explain that more while weighing it against their harms. So they talked about how the Electoral College drops more votes than the popular vote, and not all votes are equal. You know, their method allows candidates to not be confined to swing states. Yeah, I think I just need a little bit more weighing. But other than that, you were great on the line by line. But congratulations, you guys are both great.
Well, congratulations to everybody. Mia, I'm sorry we won't see you moving on to finals, but I think we'll see you moving. I mean, for someone debating by herself, is this your first tournament ever, right? Yeah, I mean, super impressive. So we will be sending out more information on what all the results were and all the numbers, and you can take a look at those and see how you did. And Dhruv and Aditya, you guys will move over to Price's room for the finals. Thank you all. Thank you, Victoria, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. And good job, Mia. You did really, really well.
You did a
For
great
your
job
first
too, guys.
tournament,
Congrats.
that was incredible.
Okay, so during the break, me and Drew were literally just talking about how we got crushed. Like, that's literally all we were talking about.
Phenomenal job.
We're still confused, to be honest. We're still really confused.
Well, you guys did a great job and congratulations. Really, good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. I have to go paint my fence. Bye.
Thank you to our editor. All right, bye.
Bye now.